Spooky stories. I just realized I have some of the most spooky and weird stories on the planet. I, for some reason, didn't think of them. Getting to have sex and eat a corpse and cannibalism. 'Cause remember, when you're the president of this church, you are the devil and you are God. So you commit every atrocity known to man. So I got to do a lot of absolutely terrifying things. I realize now that a big part of what happened to me is nobody could keep me safe after what happened in the court. And that is part of the reason I was surrendered by to the church by my family. And it's probably why everybody acts like, because everybody's terrified of the church. Nobody wants to be murdered and everything's under the threat of death with them. Even if you're not a member of the church, you're under the threat of death. Right now, you're under the threat of death. And there's a lot of mixed emotions about what happened, because what they did, they kind of did to help me when they actually imprisoned me in a hellish hellhole where they just did horrible, horrible things to me nonstop. And then my family said goodbye to me. And then I started torturing them as president because I was high on drugs and didn't know who I was. Which is where we're going to begin. So, when I was out there and they did the Slay You festival thing where the wives surround you, they do this creepy fucking meditation, and you go out to the star, you meet God, white supremacist God, Machiavelli and Hitler and all the other white supremacists, and then you get the deed to the planet Earth, and then, you turn into a god. The guy they chose for me was Vajrapani because he's black. And then I was a black god, kinda, not really in control, because the spoilers, the thing that goes on out there is they turn you into Jose by using a bunch of acid trips to give you all of his memories. The problem they had with me is I'm not a malignant narcissist, and I very much know how to process my emotions. So when they're giving me Jose's emotions, they keep telling me envy and obsession is love. And I keep seeing it as envy, which equals obsession. And I understand Jose in an extremely different way than the former president understood them. Because in their brains, their envy of other people is love. And all the emotions are misread, misaligned, misdirected, and they are all backwards. And they're like, this is the ultimate understanding of somebody who can't process their own emotions. And I was like, no, I can do that, thank you. Anyways, so part of the soul swapping thing out there in the desert, because basically you're high on LSD and you end up in a third person view where you're looking in at your body, or sometimes you're in two separate places behind your body looking in. Don't ask me, you're playing life in the third person. Now, when I was out there, I remember telling the wives about my Dove.Love comic, which is something probably the world's never seen before, because I haven't actually wrote much of it. But in that comic, there's a big focus on the soul and how the soul binds to the body, which are these things that bind your soul to the body. And the wives were explaining to me all this spiritual mumbo-jumbo in what is soul binding. Yep, when you bind your soul to something, and how these binds can be broken through, spoilers, drinking heavy metals. Unfortunately, I was non-cognitive because I had a cadmium brain. So I start explaining to them in my comic, the demigods in it who turn to stone slowly turn to stone and start unlocking different types of abilities as the soul, as the binding agent for their souls fade away. But they can also be sustained through human sacrifices. And then the wives were like, it's the same thing with you. And I was like, ooh. Yeah. Not a big fan of human sacrifice there. But yeah, so one of the creepier things I remember now, some lady wanted to talk to her dead husband for whatever reason when I was out there. And I got stuck in a third person view of my body and that guy talking to his wife on the phone. And it's so freaky because your voice sounds exactly like that guy and everything when you're under this LSD trip and hypnosis bullshit. Now you could, if you really, really want to draw this distinction, you could argue that heavy metals and radiation in your soul are somehow related in some kind of intricate, complex kind of form. Okay. The wives literally, like Mad Max, they talk about the Half-Life boys, the war boys as Half-Life war boys. And we spoke about this because I started talking about what would happen if you removed a soul from a person. And this would make a great movie, by the way. I had an entire thing about clones. If clones were born without souls, if you made a clone, it wouldn't have a soul, and then it would cannibalize and eat other people to find the soul, believing if they eat you, they can get the soul. Well, that is exactly what you do as president. You eat other people's brains because apparently the brain is where the soul hides in the human body, according to the wives, and then once you eat their brains, you gain their powers and strengths. And I was like, could you guys, like, give me an example of this? Because it just sounds gross and weird and not worth it. And then we got into the folding prion disease, when you eat somebody's brain and it causes your internal brain cells to fold over and destroys your brain. And they were talking about that there's a feeling that comes over you when you eat a human's brain, which I do think I did eat a human brain when I was out there. And it changes you, and that feeling is the soul merging, which I suggested it's probably something else, like the body has to produce a special enzyme to break down the human brain, and it probably is so damaging it might actually negatively, or it might affect your brain. And we got into an argument about that. Kind of like how pineapple, when you eat it, it digests you as you digest it. Same concept. And we had a back and forth, and they insisted in their crazy-ass religion that this is how things are done. Okay. I don't know anything, because I don't know anything about spirits. And then I explained to them, you don't know that Jose guy, because everything you guys seem to know about him being kind and loving and caring about everybody else and all that jazz is not what that man is. That guy is a fucking monster. Okay? He only cares about himself, okay? And he only cares about himself and doing what he wants in his own objective reality. He does not want to live in reality. He never liked reality, and that is why he has to stay high on LSD, because LSD enables his brain to control perceived reality. So, let's talk about this. Your brain is constantly perceiving reality, okay? LSD enables you to literally take control of reality and alter it. When I was out there, the wives, when I didn't like them, they would just get me high on LSD and then hypnotize me to see them as a different woman. Yeah. And you can apparently do this with hypnosis. If you want a hot wife, you can hypnotize yourself to see a hot wife. Blondie did this to me at Papa John's, where the wives came and they all looked skinny and ugly to me. Or they looked, ugly ones looked mildly beautiful, but there was like something in my head that told me not to trust these women. One, they came off as extremely desperate. And other ones didn't really seem interested in me, and a couple of them seemed really pissed off at me, which I did a lot of stupid things when I was president, so I probably did a lot of stupid things. I remember telling one of the, outside of that one girl that got her head crushed in a vice, ooh, I am so sorry about that. There was another woman that I think had a third foot stitched onto her, which is extra creepy. This is the thing. When you're president, you say it, they do it. It's fistation. You say it, they do it. And I said a lot of really stupid things because my brain was destroyed by heavy metals and cadmium, and I was really stupid. And also out there, all I wanted to do is be a General Bob, which is what I always want to do, and just sit and talk and tell old stories and hang out. I'm a very nostalgic person. I love telling old stories. So, yeah. And I also started hurting my family because I would think of them, say something, and then the church would go harass them about it. Anything from telling them to eat Thai food to, like, giving them things to do, which was just really stupid because I would just say something I remembered and then the church would act on it. Okay. So, yeah. And, like, the whole ritual with them has something to do, dude. You have every psychedelic known to man. One of the things, I to this day like Ganesh. I've never heard of Ganesh in my life, and the wives kept me high on that shit for so fucking long. And you're high on Ganesh, and then they get you high on LSD, and then they hypnotize you into believing you're somebody else. And I want to talk about that shit because even when I was other people, there was a limited amount of what my brain they swore that the other dude would copy people perfectly, but they had nobody to compare it to. So how do you know that he's a perfect copy? But they swore that he actually got their soul. The thing with me is whenever people ask me questions about the past, I would just tell them I have a low neuron count. And they would ask me questions and I'd go low neuron count. And I don't know. I found out that there's a bunch of celebrities and even wealthy people in this church, like, that do a thing where basically they hypnotize their current spouse. Like, if their wife dies, they hypnotize their current spouse and then put her soul in their body. But then, seemingly, when I inquired about trying to understand or even comprehend these things, I asked, like, oh, can they do this? Can they do X and Y? Or is there certain memories do they have? And they're like, oh, they have everything. And they swore up and down. And I told them, I think you're just children that desperately want to believe that you can possess other people with the souls of your loved ones and you can be together for those 10 seconds. This happened time and time again. Like, they would hypnotize my ass. And one guy wanted to talk to his dead son out there. And they got me high on drugs. And I got, like, that kid's soul. You go into the cosmos through the golden light. And you're like... And you're zipping around and shit. And then... I find the thing. I'm hit by the flash of light. And then... I'm out of my body, and this guy's talking to his son. And I'm, like, in the third person, like, watching him. And I'm, like, kind of, like, watching my watch or whatever. And the wives are standing around me doing their thing. And I'm just like, man, what is this shit, dude? There is an effect in OCD where they have out-of-body experiences. And it's been proven in clinics that it's not real. It might feel real. But this is the thing about being emotionally stunted. They have affective realism. So when this thing happens to them, it's definitely real. Well, this guy got to talk to his son through me. And then before I did the thing, I asked him if he could bring up some memories from his son that he had. And the guy asked about the memories. And my subconscious mind played along as if it knew. But it didn't. Yeah. And this kept happening with people asking me about the time they went to the beach or the time they did X and Y. And another thing the wives talked about, malignant narcissists see their kids as an extension of them. So all the kids can transfer the God spirit guy, the president's soul, to themselves and then go places. Like, I wanted to go to the beach and they hypnotized me and then, like, put me under. And then told me I was possessing some guy and I was going to the beach. And then I went to the beach in LSD land. And I guess it was pretty cool because your brain, surprisingly, is hyper complex. And LSD gives you really good visual memory. One of the things that was really funny when they put me back in my house was I've always had okay visual memory, and I've always been told there is no such thing as actual visual memory. You can't imagine looking at a page and then reading the page later. You can if you do mountains of LSD. Okay. When I would go to sleep, it was one of the weirder things is I remember playing The Legend of Zelda, right? In my head, I could play A Link to the Past piece by piece by piece, like each part of the level in my head. I could remember each area and even some of the dialogue and writing in the game. Holy shit, and I could see it because of the amount of LSD I dropped out there when I was in the desert. Yeah. It's really weird. But But yeah, that stuff's kind of creepy because you're like, oh, there's another ghost in my body. And some of the dudes were like spiteful, like ghosts, I guess, because I remember one time the wives were trying to get some guy out of my body, and I just turned and looked at me, like, and the guy was like smiling and laughing, telling me he's not going anywhere. He's got a body and he's gonna walk the fuck out of that place. And the wives got really crazy and they put him back under. They induced him and then they put me back in my body. Something about being non-cognizant makes you a great vessel for, I guess, putting somebody else's spirit in your body. Yes, being stupid on heavy metals. And they have an entire thing. You have to be on the correct neuron flow. And the wives had an extreme amount of trouble with my dumbass brain and getting my neurons on the correct level because either my brain was making more of them or less of them. Here's something really spooky. When I was down here and before I tried EDTA, I was like drooling on myself watching speed runs of Ocarina of Time. They're like 6 and 7 hours long. I could watch those entire things in a semi-focused state, so something about having lower neurons does enable you to focus longer, but my memory and shit was going. I was deteriorating in that state. I don't want to say taking heavy metals can help you focus better, but there is something about having heavy metals in your brain in the correct order and the correct neuron flow that can enable you to function a little more stable as opposed to how destabilized I am. So there's that. The problem is you have to maintain your own type of cognizance and self-awareness. And a lot of these guys are not cognizant of anything. Ever. Okay. Yeah. So, and I guess that, you know, this is pretty spooky, I think. Like, I mean, I could go into detail about having sex with a corpse, but I kind of have some PTSD moments about that. So I don't really want to get into that. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah. We probably need more research on LSD and heavy metals and One of the biggest lies is I read recently is if you have heavy metal poisoning, you can't be hypnotized. That's a fucking lie. I can tell you that right now. That is a fucking lie. Yeah, so another thing that happened was I did this multiple times. One, having sex with other people secretly, spiritually, where I asked the wives to let me have sex with a video game character, and they did it. When I was president, I actually asked to speak to a video game character, and this is how you know it's just an LSD trip. I got to speak with that video game character in person. Yeah. Yeah. There was a lady in Florida years ago. She would do these guided LSD trips where you met Jesus. And when people came out, they'd be like, I met Jesus. He knew everything about me. He knew everything. And, of course he knew everything about you because he's your subconscious mind. That's how he knew everything about you. Also, it's an LSD trip. And that's what that lady would tell them. Keep in mind the highest truths of all. You're having an LSD trip. I hope you found this kind of spooky.